All right, Jim. I know you want to get into the weeds on this one. Scotland, France.
I don't necessarily need to get too much into the weeds.
They're taking 30, Jim. They're taking
Who
30,
France
Jim.
are? Mate,
No,
France are all right at the minute.
Scotland,
They're at home.
Scotland are taking 30, I reckon.
Absolutely no chance. We are so much better than taking 30 points. Now, look at Goody, he's just like, as in, writing that down so I can get you next week.
The greatest Scotland team ever.
Well, look, if both teams play as well as they can do,
This is our year.
no. If both teams play as well as they can, then France are 8 points better than Scotland. If we say it frankly, right, in terms of the quality of players that they've got. But France aren't playing that well. Their back row, who I'm a huge fan of, Olivon and Gregory Aldry, who's just all right at the minute. It's just all right. They're not playing as well, France. It's there. It's clear to see. But it's France, and we beat them there 2 years ago. So they're going to be motivated. Like Bernard Chapman said, didn't he? He's like, it's probably not a bad thing for France to refocus their minds going into the World Cup, the fact that they've not been completely on it. But Scotland, have I said we're good or not? Have I said we're a good team?
This is our year.
This is our year. If we beat this one, we are on for a Grand Slam. So I don't want to put any pressure on the lads, but this is it. This is the biggest game ever for us because...
Here we go. Ever.
Because 2 weeks after that, we've got Ireland at home, and that is the Grand Slam decider. That is not just the Grand Slam decider, it's the Triple Crown decider. So, yeah, it's a big, big game for us. I'll just go back to that point. If both teams are on fire, France will win, but we might get them on an off day. They've not been as good, and we've been very good at times, but we've also got a lot to work. Look at me. We've got bits and bobs to work on, you know? We're not the finished article.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, you are a good team. And it's the question mark around Scotland is always they've had big performances, but then there's been a flop somewhere, hasn't there? And with France, they were average against Italy, just sort of squeaked past Italy. They played reasonably well in that humdinger of a game against Ireland, but you also know that at some point they've got a monster of a performance in them as well, haven't they? With the quality they've got. So I do worry for Scotland that they'll find it this weekend. But I also look at this Scotland team and go, they've got big cojones around them in terms of how they've fronted up against England physically, what they did in that second half to Wales after, they were under the pump in that first half a bit, weren't they, against Wales? And physically they're a completely different beast, I think, to Scotland teams of old, even though they had one of the greatest ever, most physical ever Scots in the second row in Scott Murray for years. So I meant you, Jim, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. It's you can see all sorts of results in this one, can't you? It's so hard to predict because France could be really good, and if they're hot on that day, they know they've got to win to try and stay in the comp. They've also got to sort themselves out. Imagine Sean Edwards this week. Like, he'll be chomping at the bit to find a big
George Turner who? Yeah. Kyle Steyn what? Who?
Yeah, these are fucking South Africans in a Scotland jersey in disguise. Listen, he'll get motivated. I can see Scotland winning, I really can, on the form they're at, and what France have shown so far in the first two rounds. But I can also see a 20-point victory for France as well, if things don't click for Scotland. So, and that's the beauty of the Six Nations, isn't it? Scotland are up there mixing it with their play 2-1-2. Of course, they've got a chance of the Grand Slam. Which to some people sounds crazy to say, but respecting them for what they've put out there in the first two games, where they're at with the squad, how comfortable they look with each other and how they're playing, obviously the relationship between their most important player and Finn and the rest of the group, but also with Gregor, it bodes well for Scotland, but you also know at some point they could, put in an underperformance, which could be very costly over in France. So I'm going Scotland to lose by 12, James.
Oh, okay, so it's not 30. Just a little bit of light analysis, if I may. The physicality part, you mentioned it there, Goody. If France bring that and they get on the front foot and they get the speed of ball, that's where we're going to struggle. So breakdown. We need to get the breakdown and slow that down. Does a Hamish Watson come back in? At 7, they got humped by Scarlets at the weekend. Not that it was his fault, but they need to get the breakdown and slow that down. So, hey, that's my analysis for the game. Stop the breakdown. There you go. I should be a coach.
Let's have a quick look at Italy v Ireland. Can you see any way Italy can compete with Ireland?
No.
The end.
No. Unfortunately not, no.
No, listen, Ireland, you hope to see a few changes, but it's the balance of how many changes you make. Coombs at Munster was ridiculously good at the weekend. He's been playing exceptionally well, but then you've got the best number 8 probably in the world right now in Caleb Doris, starting week in, week out. He's not going to want to give up his jersey. Do you play Byrne at 10 and rest up Sexton because it's Italy? I think back to the game in the autumn when he made loads of changes, Andy Farrell, and then he was raging because they didn't perform very well. And I just wonder whether that would be in the back of his mind on how many changes he makes, because he's got to have short-termism around trying to win a Grand Slam, but also long-termism around World Cup. We need other players to play, and it's a very difficult balance to find. Everyone expects them to win, so it is a banana skin. It's in Italy. We saw them raise their game against France there, and they played some really good stuff against England at time with Capuzzo, running rings around England at times. So they are dangerous, but I just can't see the Italians causing Ireland enough damage to get the victory. But it'll be a workmanlike performance by Ireland. I can't see them blitzing them by 50, but they will win.
You hope not, Goody. That's the thing. You hope that Italy have come a lot further now. I think that they have. And just on your point about Andy Farrell, that's going to be the big one. It's going to be interesting to see that team, because you could think on it two hats. You could be like, right, the World Cup, does he want to look at Gavin Coombs in the back row? Like you said, Caelan Doris doesn't want to give up his jersey. One of the big things that you're hearing out of that camp is like Sexton doesn't want to give up that 10 jersey. And if he's fit, he wants to play regardless if it's Italy or not. So I'll be interested to see around the selection. But yeah, until I'm proven otherwise, Ireland are unplayable.
Pod.
Rugby pod.